I just don't think in triads. But I'm like, I have dark yellow green, and then I have yellow green. Does yellow green handle some of this? Oh, it does. Look at that. It's not quite as yellow as if I just toss in yellow ochre into the mix, but maybe this is a good. Maybe this is good. Let's try it. Let's see. Let's see, chat. Oh yeah, that's gonna make things easy. Beef jerky and Snickers are your friends? What are you talking about? To take people out for their review? Like, here's a strip of jerky? Wow, you're a you're a you're a heck of a person. We at least splurge and give them dollar menu. It was funny today, Brendan Crimson Owl in chat. It was his time at bat. We always ask him where they want to go to lunch. He was like, Shake Shack. And we kind of laughed. We were like, okay, no, really. And he's like, no, really. I think he felt like we were mocking him. Like, okay, Shake Shack it is. Shake Shack, if you don't know Shake Shack, it's just kind of like it's just a hamburger joint. It's like a step above fast food hamburgers. We don't judge. On Shake Shack, you get Shake Shack. Jerky's expensive. What are you talking about? So, what you also know, if you know the price of jerky, is that if you eat jerky as a staple, you will spend lots of money on toilet paper. So, jerky is actually much more expensive than it appears on the bag. Because of the cost of all of the other things that you have to purchase should you eat too much jerky. Cue the poop jokes. E. Schmidt wants lunch. I mean, you can go get lunch, right? They have that where you are, right? Or did Texas outlaw lunch? Are you saying you want lunch? Like, here, you want your annual review, T. Schmidt? Is that what you're saying? You think that chat gets an annual review too? Chat's annual review is that you're all doing fine. You're all doing fine. I need you to pick up the pace a little bit. Feel like you're milking your position just a hair. I need you to take on a little bit more responsibility. Improbable, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Well, automaton with the 15 months. Did it not announce that? Chat slacks off and talks about nerd stuff way too much. More worky, less talky. See? Jen, slave driver Jen. I'm sitting here saying you're doing fine. Jen, on the other hand, she's the one that writes the paychecks. She signs the checks. So if Jen says you're lazy and you're not doing enough, then I would defer to what Jen says. Personally, chat. I'm too nice. So it looks like your safety net just got yanked out from under you, chat. We can't run an efficient sweatshop with all this nerd talk. People enjoying themselves. Not how this works. Hey, honey, I don't think you're supposed to actually admit to running a sweatshop live on the Twitch. Just gonna throw it out there that maybe we should keep that under wraps. Like, don't clip that part, maybe. You need dry brushes. I think we're out. I think we're out. Did you not get some at LVO? Chad has the meat sweats. Oh my god. Gross, chat. John Ninas, the wonderful Ninjon himself at Steak Club in Vegas during Las Vegas Open. On the ride over, was like, he was like, I'm not leaving till I'm sweating profusely. He went in with his main goal being a bad case of the meat sweats. I think he got what he deserves out of that. Improbable, that's awesome. Gave you guys a follow on the YouTubes. Probable Wargaming. Great team that does content on the various social medias. Great hobby content. Give him a follow. Got to meet at Decepticon. I think this will work pretty good with just the yellow green, dark yellow green, right? It'll look different than when we use the orange here, the burnt orange. But I kind of don't want the gold to be as warm as it was. I'm going to use more green to kind of cool the overall feel of our non-metallic gold down a little bit. That's where you had the last case of the meat sweats. Oh, the Brazilians, they got like a fogo de chão. I'm not really good at those places. I just want like a nicely cooked steak. I don't need you to come by with like a rack of meat every 5 minutes, doling off more to me. I feel like I don't. I feel like I'm a waste. That $60 a $40, $60 a head to get in, and I don't ever eat anything. I mean, I eat, but I'm usually like, no, nah, I'm good. Kambaja, on the normal guys so far, I've been using dark yellow green, which is what you see on like the shield right there, and then burnt orange, and then into yellow ochre, pale yellow. That's the way his shield and all the gold on the other dudes are. I want to eliminate the orange out of it. So, I mean, I'll leave those guys the way they are, but I kind of don't want to use the orange portion anymore. I'd like to have it be a little more leaning towards the green. Which is a favorite way of doing gold for me. But I would normally be mixing. Now I'm just using dark yellow green. This is yellow green. So Triad's making it easy right now. Then I'm just going to go into yellow ochre straight off of this. It gives me the ability to set up the first level of highlight, moving, placing my reflection, so to speak, on the model without being too out in the open about it, right? Keeping this first level fairly close to your base coat color means you can move your highlights around without really feeling like you're upsetting the balance of the thing. So if you get it someplace and you want to look at it, it'll be bright enough to tell what I'm doing, but not so bright that I can't just cover it back up. Whereas if I were to jump to yellow right now, then of course that would be really hard to replace. I would have to go back in with the dark yellow green again to get back to the starting point. I don't want to have to worry about, so. But still lets me start setting up some shine, which is the main goal. Everybody's having a good Thursday. It is Friday Eve, as a lot of people in Discord have been calling it, right? Everybody's ready for the weekend, me included. It's been a long week around here. Holy crap. I would love to have some time to breathe. I don't remember if I get that. Jen will let me know if I get some breathing time this weekend, or if it's dead run weekend. I don't remember. I right this minute don't think I have anything super important to do this weekend, but that might all fall apart. I defer. Jen will let me know. I feel like we had the Journeyman launch. Remember, the Journeyman miniatures are all up on the site right now for pre-order. Thank you immensely for those of you that have supported it already. We sold a lot right out of the gates. That is great. We would love to see people get more involved in artistic style busts and miniatures as time goes, and what better way than to work with some of the best in the marketplace with Journeyman. Thank you to everybody that's been reposting, letting your friends know, turning people on to the site. All of those are over under the miniatures tab in the main menu at monumenthobbies.com, as well as for those of you who may already be over in Europe. Journeyman released the Death Knight today. That is an amazing miniature. You can get him on pre-order at the Journeyman website as well, journeymanminiatures.co.uk. We timed the entire pre-order release for the US with the release of the Death Knight. The shield kind of has a bend to it, right? So I'm going to Go back in and do a little bit of brightness that I'm setting up right along in here.
Hey, somebody likes us.
Yeah, the Death Knights are just amazing. The hour of brain time that I get, the dog will demand belly rubs. Yes. Archon, what's going on? And Jay Schaefer with the 4 months, thank you. I don't know why I'm not hearing the resub alerts. Thank you, guys and gals. Welcome back. Good to see everybody. Starting work on a Vanguard vet. Want to get one of each of our Blood Angel unit types painted for this army. Have a really good look at what the whole thing's going to look like. We've done the Death Company and a Terminator so far.
Well, huzzah, huzzah! I'll just throw back my legs and pollute my breeches with delight.
Wait, what's going on? 30 months. Good to see you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Guess I got to blend a little bit up here too. Gotta remember that this is not a very bright color that I'm doing, so I can't be shy with it. All right, go ahead and use it to blend out of that dark yellow green, even if just a little bit. Start setting up the shine for the shield. It's gonna be subtle at first. That's the way you want it. Typically, when doing non-metallic, I will base coat, in this case with the dark yellow green. Then after the base coat, do exactly what you see me doing here, which is to apply a nice initial sketch for the shine. Instead of using a super bright color for that, though, as you can see, I'm using a color that's fairly close to the base coat color. A step up in brightness, but not by much. All right, now we'll start putting some yellow ochre on here. Don't know if we want to use the yellow ochre into the yellow green, or if I think I just want to go thin yellow ochre, and we're just going to put it right over the top. Right, so we have the ability to create a lot of contrast, but I can also kind of glaze that yellow ochre over the yellow green and get what I'm looking for. Not have to blend in between. The idea is to try to figure out a way that we can make this repeatable, so it doesn't take 8 hours to do each marine. I'll take more time on the first as I'm figuring out the colors, but then I want to be able to just kind of make it happen. So I'll always try to start without mixing if possible, because that speeds things up tremendously. A lot of times that means you'll have to do a little bit of glazing with it first. So the first layer I put on will be very thin. The second layer that we put over the top of that will start to gain a little bit more opacity. As we build layer over layer, but also as I just stop thinning as much. First layer gets thinned more, subsequent layers get thinned less. The daughter-in-law demanded a painted model, something Halloween-y with no boobs. That model fits the bill, I'm thinking. What model? What are you talking about, Mo? Which model? Have to get that shine layered on there. Oh, the Death Knight. Yeah. The way you put it, you made it seem like it was still a female model. You just didn't want to have one that had gratuitous sexuality. Yeah, I think I'm gonna like this a lot more. Gonna look a lot different. So I don't want to go back and redo the other guys. So we may have to do like the Terminator Squad and the Death Company. Well, the Death Company doesn't have a lot of gold, so I could probably go back and redo him. Because these are all domes, we do a little bit of secondary reflection on the bottoms of them. Right. Closer I can get. Oh, quite a bit. All right, so put that secondary reflection with your mid-tone color that you're doing. This is just the yellow ochre, not our brightest color by any means. But still a good color for, because that highlight on the bottom of the domes will probably be the last brightness we put there. We may go back and do like just a little bitty pinprick of a brighter color, but I always set up with one of the darker highlights is the place to start, so you don't get too out of control later on with making these secondary reflections too bright. And for ease of math and thought, I typically put these 180 degrees out from your main shine. So you'll see I'm doing the main shine on this corner at 2 o'clock and this one over here at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. I guess 2 and 8. right? Easiest way to look at it. Not always the way it would really be, but it's the easiest way to attack it, especially as you're learning non-metallic metal and you're trying to figure out how light bounces around an object. As you get to domes and spheres, a dome is just a cut sphere. You know, you'll start learning that a lot of it has to do with the proximity of, you know, any other surfaces. But as a rule, very easy to just kind of start with it being 180 degrees out. Wherever you put your main reflection, just the opposite side, go ahead and put your secondary. 9 out of 10 times you'll be happy and rewarded with a good looking model. So again, I'm going pretty thin. As you can see, the yellow ochre, as I put it on the first time, will start to blend in with the green as it cures. Then I'll hit it again. That's how we continue to build up our shine spots. Less and less of the yellow ochre each time, so you can see how I've kind of brought it around this curve on the shoulder. This time I'm going to bring it in and just highlight in real close. Again, removing most of the paint off my brush as I always do. So when I come over here, I'm only getting paint right where I want it. I'm not having to fight a pool of color around the model when it's super thin. And I'm not ultra thin right now, but thin enough to not want the hassle. And you can see the difference we're making with this first pass on the yellow, but how less yellow this pad feels, right? The trim feels than what we did here, because the orange, right? We did the dark yellow green and then the burnt orange next. Then over the burnt orange, the yellow ochre, and that yellow feels a lot more yellow over the orange than it does over the green. Same exact yellow color. The only yellow on that other gold, well, there's the pale yellow, which is the ultimate highlight, but the only real yellow on there is this same exact color that we're using right here. It just looks a lot more yellow over orange, because technically, obviously, you know, orange brings some yellow to the table too. Green does as well, but the blue and the green, as opposed to the red and the orange, cools things down, keeps the yellow from going too far overboard. Go see what's going on. Pizincios, what is going on? Hello. Thank you. Yeah, again, if you're just tuning in, we've been doing these Blood Angels. I've been doing kind of one of each of the squads. We did the Terminator, big bulky guy. Did our original gold with the green, orange, yellow, like I just said. And we did a Death Company, Marine, also doing the gold with the green, orange, and yellow, same way. Now we're swapping over a bit, because as I was you know, thinking about it, I'm like, I don't want the gold. I don't think I want the gold to be as warm as I've been creating it for these guys because of all the red armor. I think that on the Death Company with the cooler blue background, they're the ones that the warmer gold really looks good on. For all the guys in red armor, I think cooling off the gold is a neat concept that will bring a little bit more interest to the model. So that's what we're doing here. Working on a gold that does not have the orange in it. See how we like it. Take the time to do one. We hate it, no big deal. He can either be the one guy we hate, or we can redo it. The Death Company was a lot of fun to paint. It makes me wish my whole army was just Death Company. I really like the way that we did the black armor. Songer, am I going to glaze in shadows? Depends. Usually not. I did a little bit of purple shading on the shield here, and I wasn't 100% happy with the dark reflective stuff, but we could. You know, the areas here where you have that dark reflection underneath that bright shine, that's all purple transparent. And I don't hate it, so we can do that here too. But I might switch colors. But the idea being that the dark yellow green is really our darkest reflection in most cases that we will need, right? Leave enough of it showing, blend up out of it enough to where you get that dark reflective quality in here on the inside of that shield like we just painted it there, underside of each of these. And really you'll start to see whether or not that's enough when we put the next color on, which is the pale yellow. The pale yellow is close enough to we call it fake white, right? It becomes the white in the equation, and it's such a punchy color, and its value, it's so high, that the dark yellow green that we have on here right now will drop down another level visually, right? Obviously, it doesn't actually change. It'll be the same value that it is right now, but every time you go brighter, it creates more contrast with all your colors down below, right? So, but you could also lean into the darkness and put more dark color on there if you don't want to continually go brighter. Like you might look and say, this is as bright as I really want the gold. I want it to be more tarnished. Well, this wouldn't work. This doesn't create near enough contrast to really pull off the metallic the way I want it to. So if I wasn't going to go any brighter than this, I would need to go back and glaze more dark reflection in. But I intend to go brighter right now, so I'm not ready to make that choice. Yeah, steady buildup of highlights, but you need to make a jump. Like, we can't blend out of this anymore. This color right here, once we're done, we got to jump to real bright color. Otherwise, if you blend too much out of this, you wind up in a situation where you never create that stark contrast that reads as the metal you want. Okay? So I've got a nice blend, like right here, I've got a real chunky highlight, and then I blend it out around the edge. But if I were to blend up any more from this and not just jump, I have to jump to that pale yellow very quick now, or I lose the ability to create contrast. Not only because we're working in small scale, but just in general, you start creating a feel of a more dull metallic the more you blend, which works great for like sword blades and stuff where you don't really expect them to have a mirrored finish if they've been used in battle and such. You can go through and do them a little bit more dull. Stuff like this I feel like would be polished after battle by serfs and stuff, so we'll give it the benefit of the doubt and make this a little punchier in its reflective qualities like we did the shield on the Terminator and such. Goes through working on a Kratos tank. I haven't even built mine. It just sits over in the box. Got the Kratos, and I've still got another. I decided not to use the Heresy Rhinos for my Dark Angels. We went with the, what are they called? The Torox? No, not Torox. The, whatever the Solar Auxilia platform is. I forget what it's called. For my Rhinos. Same exact size as a Rhino, but looks better. I've never really liked Rhinos. They look like the Korean War era NPCs. I forget what it's called. The M110, M101, M100A personnel carrier in the U.S. arsenal. Yeah, I really like having the green be the reflective backdrop on the gold rather than the orange. I think that's going to work a lot better for these Blood Angels. Binksburg, how do you get such clean paint coverage? How do you mean? Help me understand what you mean, and I'll let you know. Like how smooth, or just how my blends are working. I'm working with kind of medium thin paint right now. Not too thin. I don't like to have to spend an hour glazing up layers, you know, so I'm hitting it with a fairly opaque level of color. The red is all done airbrushed, right? So all of the red armor on these guys, we started with our Payne's Gray, that bluish gray, and then into dark plum, which you see that kind of purplish plum color that sits in between the blue-gray and the red, and then our Pyro Red over the top of that. And then my highlight is Pyro Red Orange, and Warm Flesh to get that kind of salmon peach color for the shine. That's all done with airbrush. And then I go back in and I do everything else with brush, all the trim, final highlights, like on this guy. all the edge highlighting,
Huzzah! I'll just
scratches,
throw back my legs
gold.
and pollute my britches with delight.
Shoulders, all that stuff. I think we airbrushed a little bit on the shoulders on this guy, but everything else we just do with brush. So yeah, the airbrush, and it's our paints. If you're not familiar, we are Monument Hobbies, and we make this paint called Acryl. And Acryl paint is really just made, even though it's super matte finish, as you can tell, not shiny at all. It lays really nice and smooth. All the matte colors that we have will have a little bit of a texture to them, but as long as you're not afraid to just paint them on, right? Like I said, I'm not trying to layer these up in 50 million layers. You know, I'm going to get a really good finish and texture from them as we go. Do a little bit of a reflection here for this shoulder disc thing. So I'm going to make this a little curved. Needs some help. You have an Iron Hands Dreadnought list, 2 Leviathan Siege Dreadnoughts with ranged weapons, a Leviathan with melee weapons, 2 Venerables. Oh my god! You'd like to make them a bit greasy, but you don't know the paint scheme for that. Oily, greasy, battle damaged. Any tip? Yeah, definitely. So I've been doing for like my heresy stuff for my Dark Angels. We came up with a really neat, quick and down and dirty method for doing dirty metallic that is non-metallic. I'm not using any metallic paints, right? But being able to go in and do, it's all black primer. And then from the black primer, I take our dark neutral gray or dark warm gray. I can't remember which. And then just either dry brush it or sketch it in for your highlights. You're just base coating, basically, really rough. I mean, you can see in here, if I do a super zoom on this, you'll be able to tell, you know, I'm not worried about my brush strokes, right? So you've got like dark gray, dark warm gray, you know, I'm just layering up, butchering it, basically. And then I dry brush the bright gray to catch all the edges. Then I use our flesh wash, right? So our flesh wash is a very neat, rusty color. And I use the flesh wash. It's also very matte. So I use the flesh wash, and I just put the flesh wash in the recesses. I don't do the whole model, but I put it in the recesses, right? Like up in the cracks and crevices and, you know, rivet areas and stuff like that. Do the flesh wash. Then after the flesh wash, I come back with a brush, and I use the same bright gray to do the edges with the brush. You know, just a couple of the edges to get it to look good. And then the metal looks good, not like junkyard rusty, but it has like dirt and rust and oily buildup on it. And this literally doesn't take any time at all. Super easy. And then, of course, for, you know, other stuff that you want to do, it just depends on, you know, what your level of battle. This actually was a Death Guard dreadnought that I had made for a Death Guard army that I changed over into word bearers. So doing it for my word bearers. And I had already drilled a bunch of pock marks into it for, you know, tons of bullet holes and pustules and stuff. So he looks a lot more battle damage than I probably would have done otherwise. Right, but we chonked out a bunch of areas on him, physically drilling in, you know, and using the drill bit to just give it a little bit of a pock mark across the surface there. But that's an easy way to do it. There is a way that you can do stuff in metallic paints that I show off a lot. This is a troll, not a dreadnought, but about the same size, where you paint the model in your rust colors first. So I used our burnt sienna, yellow ochre, and kind of just stippled it all over the model. So the model was kind of, you know, that orangey brown and yellow, just awful looking. And then you dry brush the metal over the top of that. And when you dry brush the metallic paint, in this case dark silver and silver, over the top, it drives all that rust color into the area the dry brush can't reach, which is exactly where you want it, like in the low spots, and then it catches all the high spots with the metallic. So you get this really good beat up metal. So you can do that too, and it looks really good on the armor. It's just really messy to do because it's all dry brush, which makes it easy, but something that you would have to do first, and then you go back and paint the armor panels around it. But that works really well to give you a really beat up metal look. No washes or anything on this. This is literally just paint it burnt sienna, paint yellow ochre. You can see like the yellow ochre dots back up in there. You know, it's literally just stabbing the paintbrush on there to put the burnt sienna and the yellow ochre to where it gives it all that spotty color that you can see. And then you just dry brush the silver over the top. That's as quick as you can get and get a nice dirty metallic feel going. And then you can get as complicated as you want to get, right? Then we can go crazy, right? Because you can do like non-metallic metal, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, if you're doing an all dread list, I think that works really well. I can go get, hang on, I'll go get a Leviathan Dreadnought real quick. Huh? Oh, you're leaving too? Aha! I'm running! I'm running from Jen.
Down for a kiss.
See you later. All right. That was hi Jen, bye Jen, yeah. By the way. So this is my Horus Heresy Dark Angels army. And I got to back out a little bit. But this is, I did that same technique that I showed you on the Contemptor. I did for the Leviathan, right? So same thing, just paint it in grays, dry brush it in bright gray, and then put the flesh wash over it. And the flesh wash is all the dirty oily you see. And then go back with the brush and highlight it again. Right? And you can see that, I mean, that looks really good. I haven't done the this cannon yet. I don't remember if that comes off. I think I glued it on. But, so, you know, you can see that it works really well. And looks good. The Leviathans don't have as much metal showing from the front, so it kind of all just winds up being what you see in the back. You could do the same thing with the armor panels. You could do the same kind of wash on that, too, if you wanted to make them look super dirty. But I typically don't do that. Right? Same with the Contemptors have a little bit more metallic stuff showing from the front. But I did the exact same thing on the guns, you know, everywhere. Same thing. I might have used a little bit of like blue-black on the Volkite cannon and stuff, you know, but it's all the same. It's a really good way to get good-looking dirty metal very, 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 very quick. Because I'm not trying to spend a lot of time on these. I'm doing non-metallic bronze on them, so God knows, for this entire army, right, I've got 5 million non-metallic bronze shoulder studs to do, so I'm not trying to spend a ton of time on anything else. So I've used that same way of painting on, like, the guns, you know, whether it's black or flesh wash. There's a lot of just, you know, painting, highlighting, a little bit of thinned wash, and then re-highlight, so that I can get them done fairly quick. And still make them look good. You know, I mean, on the table, they still look great. And then you spend all your time on your... I just brought these in there. Spend all your time on your characters. Right? I always reach for these, and they're never in here anymore. I fixed that. I've brought them back from the dead. Yeah, I love these Dark Angels. For as quick as it was to do them. Sons of Rolo, what is going on?
wetting my pants.
Well, Automaton says, hi, slave driver. Bye, slave driver. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But now back to our Blood Angels. I'm spending more time on the Blood Angels than I did on the Dark Angels, so don't sue me. I actually like the Dark Angels more than the Blood Angels if we got to get down to brass tacks. But when you say washes, Improv, are those something you buy from you or you make them with your medium? No, they're washes. All the washes that I just showed you, like the Flesh Wash, is a pre-made product you can buy from Protocol. So we make Flesh Wash, Brown Wash, and Black Wash pre-mixed. You can get the holy triumvirate from us, right? And those will handle the bulk of what you're doing. And then our glaze and wash medium allows you to turn any other color into a wash that you want, so you can do whatever you want to do. But we make it easy for you with the brown, black, and flesh. You can mix the heck out of those too. So Sons of Rolo, thank you. We've been working on them for a while now. I'm definitely having a blast with them. Our Terminator. This is a Vanguard vet that we're painting. We've done one Terminator to test out the reds, and then we did one Death Company to test out how the black armor is going to look with the reds. A little bit of red shadow on him, but our Death Company guy. And our Vanguard vet. So what's going on with the Death Guard project? It's on infinite hiatus right now until we find somebody that'll respond to me about being able to do it on a show, right? Because the whole goal of that is to be able to go play 40K and then raffle the army off, to a larger audience for charity. And we can't get anybody to pay attention to us right now, which is sad because a lot of these people are people we sponsor. I think with LVO and everybody prepping for LVO that we got lost in the sauce. So we're gonna revisit it after Adepticon and talk to everybody there. I know that Stephen Box from Vanguard Tactics would do it. He was like, we'll fly you over to the UK and all that. And I'm like, I don't know if we're ready to commit to that kind of interest, but maybe. Scary was there at LVO. We got to talk with him. The mini wargaming gang. Heck, Tabletop Titans is very close to us too. Well, I say very close. They're in California, so not beyond reason. Although I feel like those guys are big army painter guys, so we gotta be smart about this too. But no, it's definitely going to get done. We just need to get more interaction. I work under the best situation when I'm energized about it, and I need to feel like there's a direction it's heading to get energized about painting those guys. We'll do it. We'll get there. We'll get there, Chet. Soulways, what's going on? Good to see you. Hello, everybody. Welcome, Raiders. Everybody's doing good. Having a wonderful week. Welcome to Thursday. Friday Eve. Doing the build up for my non-metallic metals. I'm changing the non-metallic metal gold from adding in the orange to just sticking into the base of green. We're just going to do the green. I think this will help keep that red popping more and not interfere so much by bringing another real high temp, hot color onto it. Yellow's always a warm color. Cooling it off with the green, I think, is going to give us a lot of opportunity to make the red even more interesting. Got to heat bend some resin. All right, man. Improbable's like, wait a minute. Washes? We got all the good stuff. We have not figured out a time where we're going to release our new basing materials yet, but those are coming too. Need to figure that out soon. Pretty sure I want to have those for Adepticon, and I got to get labels done and all that kind of crud too, so. Learning our line as you go. Heck, we're learning our line as you go too, right? We've been around as 5 years, coming up on 5 years. Oh my God, it feels so weird to say that, doesn't it, chat? The Acryl line, our very own paint line that we make here in Arizona, has only been around since 2018. We released on Black Friday of 2018. So 4 years as of this last Black Friday. Adrian, who's Adrian? From Tabletop Titans? No, they did not come by when I was at the booth. But I know they were there running their foldable terrain thing, right? That shine setup. Like I said, a lot of times I'll come in here and I'll sketch brightness on, and then I'll adjust it as I need to, right? Like I feel like this is probably a little too small of an area of the yellow, so I'll broaden it out a little bit. I'll come back in. I like that, but bring my fade down just a little bit further. That end. Yeah, that's much more like it. Then extend this one not quite as far because this is back in the shadow area. More ground reflection and such back here. Catch that edge, but I'm not going to bring the yellow down as far. Because this has a convex nature to it. See, it's got a little curve to the shield. Sorry you tried. Well, that's awesome, man. Thank you. What was I trying to do? Oh, this one. Extend the yellow along the top a little bit. Rotate the model so that I'm comfortable doing my color pull here. Don't always have to paint it the way you're holding it. Switch it around if it's more comfortable for you to, like, I like to pull my blends towards me. I'll rotate it around so I can do that. I feather my colors better when I have it like that. I'm liking that. That sets the face of the shield up pretty well. Mo, that's a long time to put up with me. What? You've been around forever. You can't start griping now, man. You're stuck. If I notice the paint's a little too opaque, wipe off a little bit more on my finger. Again, come back and kind of pull my blend towards me here. And on this, I want to have that area there, and I want to get another bright reflection here as if there's something in the foreground that's actually causing a another reflection. Could be anything. Who cares? Ain't gotta have a reason. There we go. And box that edge in down there too. That starts to look pretty good. Make sure this line retreats into the shadow back here, right? So I've first pushed the line down here and then just kind of use lighter and lighter brush stroke as I go towards the back. Then about halfway, hit it with the brush and pull it with a heavier hit towards the end. So I get that line to be thicker this way, thinner out here. Makes it retreat into the distance, but still gives me that edge I want. Rather than just kind of holding it like a normal edge and running your brush along it where it's all the same width. Kind of hold it at an angle, get it thicker. There's a lot of ways to do it, but Just used a Frisch Bash. Man, you know, it's funny to say, but like new brushes feel so good, right? I have a new pack to open here, and I've been holding off. But it's almost time. I just need to man up and go for it. I use brushes for as long as humanly possible until I've just beat the absolute tar out of them. Like this pour number 2 is about done as a detailing brush. You missed getting your ticket for Adepticon to compete, but you may head up to visit. Nice. We will be there in force. Well, I say in force. We have 5 people there, including Jordan, our new studio painter. Gonna be Jordan's first outing as a monument lad. We're really excited to have him there. Sounds like Jordan will be getting his move finalized into Phoenix somewhere right before Adepticon. For those of you who don't know, we have brought aboard Jordan Lamb, former Privateer Press studio painter. And are going to have a great time introducing him to you guys and gals. He'll be doing a lot of the tutorial painting for our brand, as well as streaming with me and on his own. Bring our stream back to a regular, repeatable schedule, for crying out loud. As much as I'm having to cancel streams lately, I need all the help I can get, it appears. $3,000 years ago? You wanted to save them for no good reason. I'm just like that. I'm like, you know, I don't need them yet. I don't need new brushes yet. They're sitting right here. Right? I think I might have given one away at LVO. I think I'm missing one, right? No? 2, 1, 2, 000. No, that's a full pack. Haha! I have the last of the full pack of synthetics. Oh, I gave away one of the sables. I got a fresh pack of sables here too, but it only has a 1, 3, and a 0 in it, I think. No, it's got a 1, 2, and a 0. The 3 most sought after sizes in our sables are sitting there in a pack. I may give those away. Chat. That may be an upcoming giveaway, so don't say I don't love you. Except I haven't done it yet, so you could probably still say I don't love you. We have a bunch of darkness back here for obvious reasons because the reflection of the backpack into the metal. We could put some red in there if we wanted to get serious about it, but I'm not really concerned. We just want to make sure that that reflection exists. All right, we're starting to get a pretty good gold buildup. Go see you dug yours out of a vault. Wait a minute. You got to make these shields as difficult as possible to paint by turning them into Crux Terminatus symbols. Part of you wants to just throw caution to the wind. Just paint the metallics with sable brushes. I mean, you can. There's no reason not to. It's just they have a more adverse effect on natural hair brushes than synthetics. But, you know, with the cost of a good synthetic, you want to treat it the same as a sable, right? You don't want to just ham fist lots of things like metallics into it. You still want to clean them and all that. All right. Shield setup. Last thing, cup. Halo. Iron Halo. Cup. I don't know what this is. Chalice. Veteran honors. Cool guy flare. It's more cool guy flair, huh? Why is everybody so quiet? This was the part where chat's waiting for me to mess up again. Hate the stress. God, chat, quit it. Because we have the shine, right? So this halo semicircle, like a protractor, right? It'll shine on the inside edge here towards the cup, on the outside edge away from the cup here, but the cup will get the highlight, right? So we do this, highlight in here on the cup, which is fine. But then on this side, we have a highlight on the edge, so we need a little bit of a reverse highlight like we did on the studs, just a little line. Of that edge of the curve over there reflecting back into the cup. Very quickly, it goes back to chat. Will you shut up? I have never once told chat to shut up and meant it. I'm not going to say I've never said those words. I'm old and I'm forgetful. I may have said those words, but I never once said it and meant it, right? Honey, I didn't really mean shut your freaking mouth. I was just joking. It was a term of endearment. You know I love when you yell at me. You know I love it when you tell me I should paint everything plaid. Don't get all bent out of shape, chat. Jeez. Guess I haven't edged any of that for the red yet anyway, so it doesn't really matter. If I get a little color on it. Phoenix. Wait a minute. Was that my outside voice? Oh, damn. She's not here. She doesn't know. Jen's not listening. She doesn't pay attention to me anyway, any of the time. Jen's like, yes, dear. I'm over there like, I have real feelings about this. That's nice, dear. I have meaning. I have value. Yes, yes, yes. That's my life, chat. That's my. Oh, wait. Oh, whoa. Hey. Hi. Whoa. Hey. Whoa. Whoa. Hey. Whoa. Hey. That's not fair. You can't just jump in here. All right, chat. I need you to stick up for me here. I was talking about the other Jen, babe. Oh, wait. Get him, chat. Wait a minute. This is not a free-for-all. This is not the part of the stream where chat goes wild. Hi, we were just not talking about you, Jen. Hi, babe. We were just sitting here not talking about you. Hey, babe, remember how we were sitting around talking about how chat's a bunch of liars? Remember that? Remember what a great conversation we were having? Yeah, they're doing it again. Yep, they're doing it again. Something about how I was talking about you and blah, blah, blah. They're acting out again, Jen. They're acting out again. Mirror universe, Jen. Hard to defend me when I openly dig the hole deeper in front of her. The one thing Jen knows after however many umpteen jillion years it's been, I think it's been 8 years. Did we literally just cross 8 years? 8 years. Our anniversary was 8 years, January 31st. 8 years, chat. If there's one thing Jen isn't, it's dumb. Did I say that right? God, I hope the hell I said that right. She's not dumb. All right, now it's time for pale yellow. We're going to see if we can do this in just these 4 colors, right? Because the other we did the other golds, right, in 4 colors. We just used orange, right? We used burnt orange after the dark yellow green, burnt orange, then yellow ochre, then pale yellow. But it makes the gold a lot warmer, right, with the orange in there, which is too close to the red because it's in such small amounts that the eye can be fooled into thinking that's just more red. But we don't want it to be more red. The next is pale yellow. But if you're going to do this, you have to have the special pale yellow that comes with the black primer overspray on the bottle. Very important that you have all of your paints have a certain amount of black overspray on it because it proves to your paints that you mean business. So that they know every time you crack one of them open, it's work time. It's not fart around on the job time. It's get down to business time. Most paints don't understand this. They have a real hard time with understanding this. They'll sit around and ask for more smoke breaks. Doug was happening. He says, I'll hang out with you guys until I get a better proposition. People still smoke? Lots. They vape now. I don't think, is smoking she anymore? I think everybody vapes. All right, so pale yellow starts becoming our white, our brightest highlight in this scenario. The first thing I normally do is just come in, catch some of my edging, see how I'm liking the feel. I think I'm liking this gold a lot better. Just pretty much straight away. Titanium white sold out at ReaperCon this year. That's awesome. They have asked us, back, rest in peace to Ed. They had asked us to come down, but that was the year that COVID was introduced. We were working on a joint project with the gang over at Reaper to allow them the ability to do our go bag for VIP bundle giveaways there. We had it with a Reaper logo on it and cool stuff planned, but as we know, little change in plans that nature wrapped on us there. And we have not made it down that way. We've got some dealers that take stuff over there, obviously. A lot of friends of the brand head down to ReaperCon. Love the gang over at Reaper. One of the few North American companies really true to the hobby. Making awesome stuff. More miniatures than you can shake a stick at. Holy bones. Great team. Right, so there's some non-metallic gold studs. You can see how instantaneously, when you start making this jump in brightness, right? Our next brightest color was the yellow ochre there on my thumb, and now we're going to what appears to be nearly a white in the pale yellow, and that's where you start getting your metallic feel going, right? You don't need a whole heck of a lot of this color, but it definitely needs to go in the right spots to have the effect of making something appear like a reflective surface. This is your brightest reflection, obviously, at least at this stage. We may make it brighter later on, but for right now, that's it. And you're basically, well, I'm basically just kind of filling in where I already put color, right? As you start to understand light and reflection, you start to just trace your colors from your dark reflections into your bright or vice versa. And then you're always just putting like this brighter highlight, like you see that little kind of pyramid of brightness that I just put right there. I just put it inside the same shape, right, of the previous color. Right? So a lot of cases it's just small doots of color landing inside of the previous one to give it that final shape and reflection. Hoff, thank you for the follow. People painting in the ballroom. It's a painter's con. Yeah, it is.
Hey, somebody likes us.
That's why we'd be so hyped to go. Because it's really just hang out, hobby, have fun, enjoy the hobby, talk about the hobby, live it, love it, go. Sounds like a day in the life of Monument Hobbies, so we're down. T. Schmidt, thank you. What do we think, chat? For those of you that have been around watching the Blood Angels come to life, do we like this without the orange, or do you like with the orange better? I like this a lot better than with the orange. The orange feels just a little bit less impactful on the model because it has so much of that orange that feels like the red armor. I mean, I really like the studs down here on his leg. The orange doesn't really play a part there. But I'm thinking this with the green is the better way to go. And probably you like it on the Terminator? I like it with the green. I like this guy. I think this gives the red a more standout spot, but still open for for critique. See them both done. Yeah, I think that we're missing a lot on this guy because the red hasn't been highlighted. The helmet's not done. There's still a lot to do. So it isn't really a fair assessment. Trying to judge any part of a model until the whole model is done is a losing proposition. Right? What we're going to do next is drop that brightness right inside this center spot here on the shoulder plate. Right, notice how I've blended up to where we've got our brightest spot right here for this reflection. And I'm going to drop the reflection towards the higher side of this. Right around here. Not in the middle, but up here offset a little bit. Kind of sketch it in real quick first. Notice how I do it out of a lot of sideways lines. These kind of horizontal lines are a little bit curved, but as you learn about metal and reflectivity, you'll notice that metal has a grain to it, almost like wood. Broaden the shine out across the top, and then have it kind of turn into a funnel shape down towards this shorter side there. Starts to look pretty good. Another little bit of shine right in here. Maybe as like a reflection from the jump pack in the shoulder. Not going to seem as bright because it's not sitting on top of the brighter yellow. What's my recommendation on doing Eldar flesh? I guess it depends on what you think Eldar look like, right? Do you want them to be more like gray flesh looking, blue? Normal human, just pale elf style? So many choices when doing skin tones. I've seen a lot of people paint Eldar, you know, almost like painting Imperial Guard with lots of different flesh tones in and amongst your army, and that can look really good. I guess it really just comes down to your interpretation on the racial qualities, or, you know, the particular qualities of your particular craft world that you're wanting to paint. I tend to look at elvish stuff as, paint it like human flesh. You can go into some Caucasian tones or like Eastern Asian tones or even Middle Eastern tones. I don't see Eldar as being very dark skinned, right? And I think that's kind of that age old pale elf feel for me. Just because in most worlds of fantasy literature, the elven races are typically more fair of skin and hair and things like that, but there's no reason to stick to that. I like to kind of gray the skin tone out almost. Not like alien gray, I don't think, although that's definitely something you could do. But you could imagine like how you would do Caucasian skin and then throw in a little bit of desaturating gray, like a warm gray or something like that. It'd be really cool. Do something where we have this reflection coming across of the shield. Maybe that hits right around there. Yeah, but like adding gray into just normal skin tones, even African skin tones with a little bit of grayed out, gives them kind of a, rather than other colors that can make it look unhealthy or, way alien, it kind of just makes it look alien, It gets you into that uncanny valley easier, I think is the way to describe it. Where it's like, that looks damn close to human, but just enough not human to get you to realize you're dealing with something different. Which is kind of how I like to treat the more humanoid alien races like Eldar and such. Whether your narrative is that they made the humans or have been around longer than the humans or whatever, still letting the viewer's eye just kind of feel uncomfortable with like, oh, what am I looking at? That looks human, but isn't quite human.
Hey, somebody likes us.
And you can do that with any skin tone. Asian, Middle Eastern, Western Indian. Just desaturate it a little bit towards that gray. We just came out with a really, really amazing color in the Signature series, that red gray. And red gray allows you to do exactly that. You can put that into skin tones because it has just enough of kind of a pinkish quality to be a neat highlight for flesh, regardless of color. And enough of a gray to desaturate it. So even if you were going like black brown into dark flesh, shadow flesh, or like African skin tones, Middle Eastern skin tones, you can put that red gray in there and get some really neat movement of color. That could be a little alien. Might be fun. Super Silas, what's going on? A coworker thought your last name is Silas, so it became Super Silas. Thank you for the follow. Gosu's name is actually Silas, and he got all excited. I have met my kin. And then Super Silas is like, no. No. Unfortunately, no. I think one of the funnest things about painting in general is trying, as you can, tell from some of the things we paint around here, is trying out new color combos, going with new ideas on how to add particular colors and hues into a place that they might not seem natural. Something as simple as dark purple shadows all the time on my models. That's an easy one. Low-hanging fruit, so to speak. Once you get used to doing that, you'll start using other colors to highlight, instead of highlighting red or flesh tone with just a brighter flesh tone, highlight it with something else. Highlight it with, well, flesh is a hard one because it doesn't have a whole lot, but you could highlight it with something like this pale yellow, right? Flesh has got a lot of yellows, reds in it. You could highlight it by adding in maybe a pale blue. It could desaturate, move the skin tone into a cooler temperature. I'm gonna go here. For that one. I really like, when I built this model, I didn't know if I liked this little shoulder seal right here. It's off of the Blood Angel sprue. I don't remember which one. Maybe the Sanguinary Guard or no, I think it's the Blood Angels Terminator sprue. And it has all those little curved shoulder shields and things like that. And I put it on there and I was like, it's kind of bulky, but I'm glad I did it now because that little round shield breaks up so much of that normal Space Marine shoulder area. I dig it. Gosu, now we all know your real name. You're doomed. Since there are no other humans named Silas, you're going to be easy to find. You might not have said that out loud on the stream. I'm just saying. Like, dang, I'm still the only Silas. All of a sudden, the phone starts ringing. I know what you're watching. Like that, it came from in the house. It's all good, no worries. Like, no worries. If people are coming to the house, just bring snacks. I'm digging that. What are we thinking? Good? I like. He says, bring some paint and we can hang. I wouldn't mind most people on the stream coming over. He goes, just kidding. Y'all a bunch of weirdos. he had to throw that in there real quick just in case somebody was like, I'm on my way. On my way. Hold my beer. Gosu said, we friends now. We friends. You said it. You said it. Did the newest plumber give us a better deal? We're not going to talk about that because I'll get on my rant. Let's just say the attorneys are dealing with it now. And we'll see how that goes. I do not have high hopes for this whole scenario, really. I don't have high hopes for this whole scenario, but we'll see. Creepy's like, not the toilet rant again. I'm not ranting. I didn't say nothing. I said don't ask me because I'll get going again. I blame chat. Ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm just sitting here painting some gold. That's on y'all. That's on chat. All right, now we gotta do this side. now we gotta do the hard part. Cool, Pack, take it easy, man. Marbles. Damn you! Neutra, I thought we was friends. Thought we had this unspoken agreement that we weren't going to talk about the marbles anymore. I love that the new plumber was like, am I seeing marbles? I'm up on the roof going, where? Marbles? No. Because the way he phrases like, why are you putting marbles down your drain? I'm like, I don't put marbles down my drain. What do you think I am? Rich? I don't just waste marbles. What's wrong with you, man? Mario and Luigi plumbing service. Please say it's a real thing, because I'll do it. Again, I usually go in and try to do all the edging first. Believe it or not, the edging will set up where my brightness goes. Notice how I flatten my brush out again. You'll see I make this real dagger point, but it's flat this way. It helps me do these flat lines on here. And taper them off. Easier to do with a chisel tip than it is with a point. Find me painting like that quite a bit. They were our marbles, and we don't want to admit we lost them. Hey, I have been saying I lost my marbles a long time ago. You're never going to hear me say, I still have all of my marbles intact. Not words that generally come out of my mouth. But the one thing I do know is that I did not lose my marbles down the toilet. Just saying. Not the way it worked. But thanks for the vote of confidence, Mo. Jeez. Nyuk, nyuk, nyuk. Whoop, 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 whoop. All right, there you go. First shine. First shine going across the face. The scary stuff. Not really, but. Not really. But we got to make it dramatic, right? Oh my God, Chet. Painting is so hard. A little bit of finger blurring as I do my shine on there, but I'm happy with that. That works pretty well. I don't know that we need a whole lot more than that, do we? We might want to bring this a little bit further up here. It always is a little bit scary glazing with the super bright colors you got going on, because they can interrupt so much of what you've already done. There we go. I like that. We got this bright line going across here. We need to give a brightness to the edge to pump that up to fit that brightness going across. But then I let it dip down to be not so bright here, and then we'll hit it and make it thicker here on the edge where the corner is bright. And I forget who was asking earlier about, am I going to go back and put darkness, right? Glaze more shadow or dark reflection into the gold. But hopefully you can see now what I meant when I said I wait until the end to make that decision. It's not a plan that I start out with saying, oh yeah, I need to make sure I do that. Because you can start to see how the brighter we go, the darker those greens become, and they handle most of our darkness. I need to put a little bit of an edge here as well where that brightness crosses over. Like so. Again, letting it fade out as it goes up. And then the same thing on the inside here. Not enough paint left on my brush. Oh, maybe we can make it work. Look at that. Yep. Any reflective surface stuff like non-metallic or any of that is always one of those kind of figure it out at the end. It doesn't have to be. Like I've shown you before, you can go through and do some things early in your sketching that put your brightness on the model. Usually that happens when you have a better understanding of doing it in the first place. So it's not really helpful necessarily for beginners. Because if you're going to go and put that, you know, super bright edge on there in the beginning, it's kind of like, well, you already know where all your highlights are going anyway. So you probably don't need a whole lot of that. All right, so now what we got to do is look around at all the bright edges we have. And reflect them into the other spots of the metal, right? So I've done the top of this little arrowhead cutting in bright. So I have to give a little bit of reflection on this edge because this part of the metal becomes a light source and reflects up here. Same thing here. I've got this brightness here. It'll reflect up here. But now I'm just doing small little spots of reflection, right? Here would reflect here, but we already got that. This line would reflect up underneath here. So we did that, right? These don't really need it. There's not a lot of brightness right there, so not a lot of brightness here. And that gives a nice cohesive way for the metal to all come together. So I gotta do all these top edges here. Puffing paint and glue like a true hobbyist. Hey, we don't talk about the olden days. Lacquer paints, solvents to clean your brushes. Mom and dad just being cool with the fact that you were not doing real drugs. Our kid's so good. Doesn't do any of that bad stuff. You're in your room looped out of your gourd with mineral spirits and spray paint cans, priming models. That's kind of all we got to do. Maybe a little bit right here. And when you're trying to, I'm painting this first guy. On all these guys, the first one goes a little bit slower, like I've said. As we find our color, find our way around the model, find what works, what we like, but after we've done the first one, I'm really trying to recreate or create situations where I can recreate this a lot quicker. So on this, I'm not going to do the underside. Doesn't matter. It's back. What's going on? Thank you. Take it easy, creepy. We are doing lots of red on these blood angels. I need more pale yellow. I've used it all. Isbek, you're fine. Your English is probably better than mine. And definitely better than my French. And welcome, welcome. Good to see you. Glad you found us. Welcome to Monument Hobbies, home of Pro Acryl paints, occasional inspiration in painting, and really bad jokes. That's our claim to fame. We make some of the world's best paints. Every now and then we have some strokes of genius when painting with them. Most of the time we just rely on the bad jokes. And my amazingly good looks, right? Amazing good looks? I guess amazing good looks is what it is, not amazingly good looks. Right now, welcome, welcome. We are cutting in the bright reflection spots on all of our gold. Airbrush for the red. I can show you a guy that has no other colors on him. You can see we started with our Payne's Gray color. So Payne's Gray is the base from our latest signature series with Vince Venturella. So Payne's Gray is the base, that nice, cool gray blue in the shadows. Then we move to Dark Plum, also from the signature series, but from Ninjon's signature series. And the Dark Plum moves the gray into the red. And then the red is just, bam, Pyro Red. Our bold Pyro Red over the top of all that. And that's it. Really simple, 3 colors. The highlights I started adding in orange. I made a like a reddish orange color for the highlights by mixing in our orange with the red. And then for the last highlight, which is kind of that salmon color, I added in some warm flesh into that. So I basically just took red and mixed all my highlighters. And there you go. Real easy. And then just the edge highlighting with the same color that we did the last airbrush highlight in, this kind of salmon color. Eclectic salmon. We took that and then just used it on the brush and did the edge highlighting with it. Then we go in and we use pale pink off the brush to do the final highlights, which will get it to look like this. More of a deep structured red once you put the pale pink, because as soon as you put the pale pink on it, it desaturates or blows out all of these high highlights, although I highlighted these more than I did the Terminator. But all that color is still on there. You can see the salmon color and how the bright stretch of pale pink in there then kind of smooths that out and puts the red back in focus. So, whole army of red dudes want the red to remain a little interesting. Then we did the Death Company guys, the black. We reversed it. We did the dark plum in the shadows, did that kind of warm shadow, and then the Payne's gray that we used as the shadow on these guys, we used as the black armor. So it ties them together in the color scheme, but, you know, still allows you to do black armor and red armor in the same army, but have it feel a little cohesive is the goal. Never used an airbrush, but you love the soft result. Yeah, it's both a blessing and a curse, right? Because the atomization of paint in an airbrush gives you that very almost like pixelated ability to blend your colors, right? It looks great, but it looks very out of focus, right? So when you just have, you know, that by itself, it doesn't feel complete to me. It's only when you go in and you do your edge highlighting, right? As soon as you start doing your brush work over it, glaze your highlights a little bit more, you know, run edge highlights to give you some contrast along the edges. It squares it off, and it starts looking more finished. So always a give and take. You know, it's very hard to do airbrushing and have it be something that can be, you know, be the whole model. We did a challenge on our Discord server not too long back where it was see how far you can take your model with just airbrushing. How much of the detailing can you do? How much of the highlighting? How can you use different techniques to do edge highlighting with an airbrush? Because it's possible. But it's always going to give that little bit of fuzziness to the way it looks. And to your eye, it seems a little out of focus. So sharpening all that back up with the brush is really the key. But that's also hard because, you know, doing brush work over airbrush can look and have a very stark contrast as your brush strokes aren't as smooth as the airbrush was. So you're always playing back and forth. So when I'm doing armies fast like this, the goal is to use the airbrush for the bulk of getting the armor looking good. And then you go back in and use the brush to do, you know, little highlight spots as needed, edging. And then, of course, all of like the non-metallic metal that we're doing. What's up, nerds? My nephew and his handler. Good word. Yeah. Guys out of here. All right, man. Everybody gone? Okay. Fantastic. I'm solo. They're leaving me alone with you, chat. Good, bad, I don't know. We'll see. All right, gang. Have a good night. See ya. The office is now empty. Yeah, on this guy, I'm changing the non-metallic gold over and just using the green base and not using any of the orange that I used on these guys. And I'm liking it. I'm personally liking it a lot better. I don't mind the gold on these, but it's a little warmer where the orange tends to look like red. And we already have so much red. So this is a good thing to talk about because, you know, the orange spots on the shield, you can see them here and here and here and over here and here and here, right? So the burnt orange gives a really good backdrop for building gold off of and is what I normally use when I'm doing non-metallic gold. But when you're dropping non-metallic gold, which is already going to be a warmer tone color because of all the yellows and, of course, because of the oranges on this workup, and you do it on a warmer base, which is red, right? You know, red is a warm tone. Even though we've kind of cooled it down with the Payne's gray, the blue grays, and the plums, it's still a very warm base for this model having all that red. So putting the orange in there, it looks good and it tells a good story, because you can imagine in an army of blood angels, all of the reflective metals on their armor would reflect other blood angels, right? So there's a good story to be told because it looks like it's reflecting red stuff. Maybe there's a rhino here in the foreground or a land raider, and it's reflecting the body color of the land raider into the gold. That's neat, and that tells a good story, but it can also be overbearing. And for me, when I'm doing if I imagine a sea of these dudes in red, right, I think that this works a lot better because it lets the red be really punchy, but the gold trim then stands on its own and doesn't add any more heat to the equation. I mean, it does. It's still gold, so it still can be considered a warm color, but the green tones it down a little bit and gives us what I consider to be a better base to work from. So I think I'm going to use the green in the future on everybody. Right? Like I said, on the Death Company, it doesn't really matter because they have so little of it that I could do whatever, and unit to unit, it's not going to matter. The Terminators, I might have to think about it. He may be the only one that has orange. Or I might do that whole squad of Thunderhammer Terminators with orange and the gold to make them different. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Phoenix. Jen charges me when I need new paints? Oh, she does. I have to pay for the paints. She makes me stream, and I have to deal with you people. You just saw Flame on Miniatures, Mashik, latest Space Marine in the Pyro Red, and it was insanity. Yeah, his brushwork is insane. He doesn't use any airbrush. He just does hours and hours and hours of glazing, but his brushwork is phenomenal. One of the best, brush blenders on the planet, in my opinion, in the miniature world, for certain. Mashik from Flame on Miniatures is amazing. And he loves our paints. That can't hurt. One of the painters we all aspire to reach a level of quality that he paints with, right? And he's doing it all. Not all, he uses a bunch of paints, but he uses quite a bit of Acryl. You look at his model and you look at your own reds and they're judging you. Like, I mean, why don't you use us like that? My paints look at me like that. It's like, wait a minute. How come when you use us, it doesn't look like when all those people use us? None of us are free and clear from the judgment brought down upon us by our betters. I jest. I don't think about it. If you've been hanging around here long enough, you know that I don't tune into the whole idea of good, better, best painters. Especially with something subjective like art. Art is meant to please the viewer, and it can come in a myriad of forms, and your own art must please you first, I believe. There's some artists that will tell you differently. Once you get into a commercial spot, they may go on and say, well, yes, but, I really have to please the client first, or I don't put food on my table, and that's understandable. But generally, you get to the point where you're pleasing your client because you have liked what you've done, you've shown it, and people have really enjoyed your work with you, so to speak. So just keep painting. Do cool stuff. Go ahead where this brightness is. I'm going to poke a little bit out on the front. Same over here. Where the rim of the chalice will reflect back into the halo over the top. Coming along pretty good. It's funny, right? Your eyes become so adjusted to looking at it with the brightness on it, you know, and it just becomes the way you vision it, and then you forget that this is where it comes from. All about those small steps of blending all the way until you get to this loud punch of brightness, right? Like somebody had mentioned, non-metallic metal is all about the end of the journey. Getting there is the most frustrating part, right? Finding a way to hold yourself in check with your own personal judgment until you get to that point where it's about ready to be finished is always the toughest spot. And really that's all based on knowing when to jump up in value and put your punch color on there, if you want to call it that. That's what we're doing now, or punch color, if you will. Your brightest highlight. Again, we have the shine on the cup on this side, so I'm going to put a little bit of brightness there. And that reverse over here from the halo will give us a little pinpoint of light there too. Well, you got to get out of here. Take it easy. Freed from the shackles of employment. You just finished your 5th intercessor. You hope one day you'll do colors like this, smooth and sexy. I need to keep you around. You're welcome back anytime. Smooth and sexy colors, chat. That's it. I will not allow anybody to talk about my paint unless the words smooth and sexy are involved.